Hey there guys, it's devianamagenta today with another fairy tale, and this one comes from Finland, Norway, Iceland, and Sweden. It's called Why the Sea is Salt. Once upon a time, there was a sailor, and in these days, sailors were paid with salt. Salt was the main barter, and it was also useful for preserving all manner of goods. Now, the sailor completed his long tour at sea, and when he arrived in port, he was given a big plate full of salt, his wages. And as he was walking home with his plate of salt, he was thinking to himself, "Oh, I have saved up richly with this salt. I will buy for myself a nice little home, and I will get myself a little business and set up shop here and find a wife." And as he is walking down the road, suddenly the north wind comes along and blows all of the salt off of his plate. He's running, trying to catch it, trying to gather it up, but the wind sweeps all of it away. Now the little man is furious because he just lost all of his salt, all of his wages, just gone to the wind. So he picks up and storms off to where the north wind lives, and he says to the north wind, "North wind, you took all of my salt, that's like the wages for months of labor. I demand that you give it back." And the north wind says, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I don't actually have your salt. I was just blowing from north to south. This is my job. And I'm sorry, I've misplaced it. I just blew it southwards and it's not mine anymore. But I do have something that is even better that can replace all of those wages and more. And to reimburse you for your trouble." So he brings out this little grinding mill, like you would use to grind small grain or nuts or something like that into flour. And he hands it to the man, and the man goes, "A mill? Seriously, what am I supposed to do with this?" And the north wind goes, No, it's a magic mill. See, it's got magic code words, and if you say to it, "Grind, mill, grind salt for me," the mill will start to turn. And as soon as he says these words, "Grind, mill, grind salt for me," the handle of the mill does start to turn, sure enough. And as the sailor's looking at this mill curiously, watching it turn on its own in his hands, salt starts pouring out of the bottom of it. He goes, "Oh, what?" And salt keeps pouring out, and the sailor starts shoving it into, a little bag, and he's like, "Wow, that's great." And as the mill keeps grinding, his little bag gets full, so he starts trying to stop the handle, but it's really strong. It keeps turning even though he's resisting it. And the north wind goes, "Oh, no. You won't be able to stop it that way. You have to say the magic phrase to get it to stop, and that is, 'Halt, mill, halt, grind salt no more.'" And as soon as he says these words, the mill stops turning and salt stops coming out. And the north wind goes, "For all of your trouble, you can just keep this mill. You can, use it to get as much wealth as you want, but do be careful with it because people will covet this if they find out, so it would be better if you keep it a secret." And the sailor goes, "Okay, thank you." And he takes his mill and his bag of salt, and he goes into town, and using the salt that he got from the mill, he buys himself a nice little house and starts setting up a little business as a trader, getting goods and, selling them. And using this salt, he's able to grow his business at a much faster than natural rate, and soon he is a wealthy businessman with a wonderful, enormous house and a staff of servants and a beautiful wife. And one of his servants is very sly and very crafty, and he has noticed the supernatural rate of growth at which his master's wealth expands. And so he's trying to find the secret to how his master is so wealthy. And as he is snooping about the house, he overhears his master say, "Grind, mill, grind salt for me." And he peeks in through the keyhole and sees the magic mill turning and grinding salt. And as he hears other servants coming down the hallway, he quickly ducks away and pretends to be doing something else until they go past. And then when he comes back, he sticks his eye up to the keyhole, and he sees the mill now no longer turning, his master putting it away. And he goes, "Okay, so there's a secret mill, and that's where it's hidden, and to get it, you have to say, 'Grind, mill, grind salt for me,' and it'll make infinite salt." So later that night, the servant breaks into the study where the mill is kept, and he finds its secret hiding place, and he steals it and runs away. And he buys himself passage on a ship to a faraway land. And while he's down in the cargo hold of this ship, or not the cargo hold, but the cabin, wherever it is that he's staying, his little room, he's feeling really curious. He wants to try this mill out. So he sets it down on his little table and he goes, okay, grind. And the mill doesn't turn, and he goes, So he grabs the handle and starts spinning it. No salt is coming out, and he goes, oh, right. Grind, mill, grind. Grind a salt for me. And the mill starts to turn, and salt starts to come out. And the guy's like, yes! So he starts, putting the salt into containers so that he can use it for later. And when he's filled up his whole backpack with salt, he's like, alright, that's enough salt. And he's trying to stop the mill. So he puts his hand on the handle, but the handle is really strong. No matter how he strains against it, it's still turning. And he starts shouting all kinds of things at the mill, like, mill, stop! No more! Stop, stop, stop! And the mill won't stop. He starts yelling, every magic word he can think of. Abracadabra, hocus pocus, but the mill won't stop turning. And the sailors hear the commotion of this guy yelling down in his cabin, and they think something is wrong. So they open up the door, and they see him there surrounded by a steadily growing pile of salt, trying frantically to stop this mill. And they realize what's happening, and that if it doesn't stop, it's going to sink the whole ship. So all of these sailors and the ship's captain and everything are all yelling every magic word they can think of and hitting the mill with, hammers and trying to hold the thing still. And nothing is working. It's just turning and turning and turning. The ship begins to creak and groan as the large weight of it starts to drag it down in the water. The wood begins to burst at the seams, and water begins to pour in, and the whole ship sinks to the bottom of the ocean. And to this day, they say the mill is still there, turning and turning and turning, and that is why the ocean is salt. Thanks for watching, you guys. You have a lovely week. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye-bye.